here at the Lubbock, Texas Regional, aka YESSSS Lubbock. My goodness, please introduce yourself to the world.
Hi, my name is Michael Lee. I got 6th place at the Lubbock Regional, and I was playing Exosister.
Exosister? My goodness, Postmat's nice. What made you decide to play this deck for this event, man?
Deck's actually kind of insane. Took a long time for me to like learn the ins and outs, but like when you pilot the deck like perfectly, it's actually kind of crazy how much mileage you get. It's like a mid-range deck, so you get all the benefits of combo while also like being very resilient to hand traps and board breakers. But there's a lot of intricacies.
Well, what decks were lucky enough to beat you in Swiss?
I lost to the first place guy playing Unchained. I just didn't prepare for that deck. I need to like switch. I have like no cards inside for it.
Oh, okay.
And I also lost last round just because of like a misplay. Like I messed up my siding pattern, and I lost to the super heavy race player.
Okay, sweet. Well, before we see the do, any shoutouts?
Yeah, shoutouts to my family, shoutouts to friends, shoutouts to DCBC. It's nice to have a social life. But yeah.
Yeah, without further ado, please show us the top 8 goons.
Alright, so to start out, we play 3 Magistus Aurora, 3 Aratama with the 2 Sakitama. This probably doesn't require much explaining.
Oh, this one is definitely not standard, right?
Yeah, so all it does is it targets a Magistus, so itself, to equip a Magistus from the extra deck to it. And when it's equipped by a Magistus card, it can special summon a level 4 lower spellcaster from hand or grave. So in the grind games, this card is just a 1-card rank 4. It's really efficient and it gives you a lot of resources. It's also really good in all of the worst case scenarios for Exosister, because the worst case scenarios is 1, if they set Super Poly, the Magistus you equip is an MST, so you can normal summon. It's a fire and the Exo is a light. They usually Super Poly for Gura, but you can just MST to set Super Poly. It's pretty telegraphed because the decks that are able to play Super Poly are like Race, Branded, those kind of decks. You can kind of predict that. And if you get Nibiru or Kaiju, because you can't use Martha, you just normal summon this. You hope your hand traps will stop your opponent, and you go for a format Zeus.
Wow. Nice.
Next, we've got every copy of Martha possible. The deck really needs Martha to get going. Small World's a little bit interesting because in addition to getting Martha, it's not always good. You need Martha to have an extender, otherwise all your plays are just normal summons. And your normal summons are really easily stopped. Like all your normal summons will get stopped by like 1 interruption. So in some matchups, you need to first action Martha to play through things. And Martha puts 2 bodies on board, which is really hard to deal with for most decks. And just stick a Michaelis on field. That's how you break it. Okay. So for some of the bridges for Small World, obviously any level 4 bridges into Aratama, into Martha, because Aratama is a fiend, Sakitama is a fairy, so even Sakitama to Aratama works. Any of the other non-Martha Exos can bridge into Aratama, into Martha. If you already have Martha in hand, you can bridge any level 4 plus Aratama for Ash Blossom because they share 1800 defense. So Small World is interchangeable as Interruption or Martha. But you slide this card out in mid-range mirror matches, like against Race or like Marincess, because in those mid-range mirrors, your hand traps will generally trade 1-for-1 against them. And when you're going first, you don't want to go neg 1. And normal summoning, like everyone knows normal summon Aratama, search Martha line. You can do that and just grind it out. But against decks like Kashtira, you have to Small World for Martha because that's how you push through Fenrir and everything.
Very nice.
Next, you got the Exosister cards that you're forced to play. The 3 LS targets. 1 Stella, 1 Sophia, 2 Returnia, no Vadis. The Exosister cards are really bad. Martha's like the best one. Michaelis is also really good. You play 1 of this as a search target, you need to draw 1 in some hands. This is just the target for packs, because Ellis is always engraved, so you can packs for this, so you can save your Marthas. But you don't want to play that many Exo cards. Vadis I don't play, because once again, if you're even or ahead, Vadis is good, but when you're behind, Vadis is never going to save you. Like, if you get Nibiru, Vadis does nothing. If you get Kaiju, Vadis does nothing, because you can't activate Returnia. Same if they, like, book, because Returnia gets turned off, doesn't matter if you have Vadis. Every deck can basically just, like, battle phase attack over what you Vadis, so I'm not playing it. No Copium here. For the other cards, best cards in the game, yeah, I don't care. You max out. The math works. I can explain the math later, but like I played the exact same list for Houston, although I did pretty bad because I misplayed Houston. But like when I banished all my LSS desires, didn't matter. I still won. Like these cards are just way too good for consistency. And for the non-engine staples is just hand traps. Ash, Imperm, best cards in the game. Valor is just something that's generic against all matchups. Droll never came up today. With my ratios for hand traps, on average you're only opening one, a little bit more than one, but never two. So a lot of hand traps are, you need another hand traps. Like Nibiru is bad on its own, so that's why I chose Droll. But I might switch out Droll for a different card later. But that's the main deck, 40 cards.
40 cards, 40, let's go.
So for the extra deck, Azala, Asafil, Jabrain, 2 Caspitel, 3 Michaelis, 2 Magnifica. Well, I guess to explain, Azala is just like, it never comes up, but it's there to clear the Nibiru token, or maybe if you get debarriered, it might come up. This is just a one of, pretty standard. This goes for games, some people play 2, but my extra deck is actually kind of tight, so it's only 1. If you ask like other players, like you only ever make 1. 2 is pretty standard, 3 and 2 is standard. This is the target for Zora, so that's what you equip with, where is it? If I can find him. This guy.
Oh, Zora, yeah.
So you normal summon him, effect target himself, equip this. This is just the MST. And when it's equipped, Zora special summons a level 4 spellcaster in defense. So yeah, you can like make rank 4s with it. But so that's that. And the other thing is I play a pretty heavy Zeus package.
Oh wow.
So this is just for 4 material Zeus. This is just a 3k vanilla. It matters that you play this card instead of the Therion rank 8 because 3k beats over Chisho. 3k also beats over Unicorn with Race Off on field. Yeah. And if you get like Kaiju and Nibiru on the follow up, you just normal summon this. Go for the 1 card rank 4 and you just make a format Zeus and you should be fine. 2 copies of Zeus because Unicorn can banish it. In a grind game, Zeus you can like normal summon Droll, attack, it dies, Zeus will equip and overlay second Zeus for more materials. So everything comes up. For the side deck, 2 DD Crow, 3 Bell, 3 Ogre, 2 Nibiru. Yeah. And the best card in the side, the side frame package.
Oh my. This
can be thrown into every single matchup, including Labyrinth. I played against a Labyrinth. He called by the grade my Ash and I just dealt it. Like no copium when you're going second, like the game is usually decided in the first few turns. So you just have to like stop them, right? Counter spells. And the fact that this goes into like every matchup is also really insane. Everything is hand traps. You might remember my Sword Soul deck profile where I also just played nothing but hand traps. I don't play board breakers. It's just, I feel like hand traps were better. But if I were to change anything, DD Crow might come out for Skullmeister because I have nothing for the Unchained matchup. Bell isn't that great. Nibiru is good, so I might throw a third Nibiru in. Ogre doesn't work, Droll doesn't work. Valor and Imperms also don't work against Unchained. Well, Imperms a little okay because you can use the board breaker. But that's the deck. So for the math I was talking about earlier, there is a way to calculate exact percentages in Yu-Gi-Oh! Well, not exactly percentages. People use the hypergeometric calculator, but the problem is that the percent it gives you is not very useful. Like, let's say you have a 57% chance of opening a card. It doesn't tell you anything. What you actually want to know is what your hand is going to look like. So, in a 40-card deck, if you play 8 cards like of a category, like let's say 8 hand traps, if you go into the hypergeometric calculator, the percent chance of opening 1 multiplied by 1, percent chance of opening 2 multiplied by 2, so forth, 3, 4, 5. If you sum all the products together, you end up with 1. So if you play 8 copies in 40, on average, in a starting hand of 5, you'll open 1 of them. And the reason why the averages matter is because of standard distribution. If you know the bell curve, you're more likely to see the average than anything else. And this checks down the math as well. If you play 8 copies, you're more likely to open 1 than you are to open 2. You're more likely to open 1 than to open 0. So if you want to open 2 copies of a card with a 5-card hand, you want to play 16. If 3 copies, 24, 32, so forth. Going second, the math changes because your starting hand is 6. So you can take cards out and so forth. There's a lot of things you can do with just averages. Like I even calculate the average of like opening 2 high impact hand traps that you don't want to like top deck going second. Like every top deck is just like an additional card in your opening hand, so you calculate like a 7-card opening hand. That's how you do the math. So as how the math relates to this deck, it's like 3 Martha, 3 packs with 6. Normal distribution is 8, so you're actually too short. That's why you have to play it Small World, because without Small World, you're not consistent with opening Martha. You don't have to open Martha unless you're going second against Cash Tier, which you have to open Martha. That's why 3 Small Worlds are in.
Alrighty. Well, hey man, thank you so much on that lesson right there, and congrats again on getting top 8.
One last thing.
Yep.
Stop power shuffling. All right, I'm done.
Oh, there you go. Okay. All right, guys, that's gonna be it. Bortle out.